In this video, I'll show you how to create your own DLL in C# and how to access the DLL from Labview. So you know from object-oriented programming that there are classes and there are objects, and in the DLL, the classes live inside the DLL, and objects are created in a program that calls the class. So this is DLL, and this is a class, and this is an object, and we're going to use Labview to call the DLL and create an object from the class that we've created. So let's get started. We're going to make a class. I'm using Visual Studio 2015 project. We're going to make a class library, which is going to be called my timer event, because later on I'll make a timer in a future video. Yeah. I'm going to rename this to my timer just for good measure. It's not necessary. Yeah, and then we're going to have, first of all, a private static integer called num_counts. Private means this int is not accessible from outside of the class. Static means all the class members can access this integer. You're going to have a function, public, so this function will be accessible. Public void null num_counts, which will be used to null the number of counts, which is useful later when you want to use a timer again. And num_counts will later be used to keep a record of how many times the timer has overflown. So to access this num_counts, we're going to make a public integer get num_counts, and it's going to return num_counts. And finally, we're going to have a public void increase num_counts, which is going to increase the number of counts by 1. All right. Now, these are methods that I've made, and these are public, so I'll be able to access them later. You can also access properties. So I'm going to have first a private integer interval milliseconds, and then we're going to have a public accessor, public int interval milliseconds. And it's going to have a get method, right, and a set method, right. So get will return the interval milliseconds, which is the hidden variable because it's private, and set will say if value is bigger than 0, so we have a sensible value for an timer interval, then this for this class dot interval milliseconds is value, else this dot interval milliseconds is 1, just to give it some sensible value. Okay, so I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to hit F6 to build the DLL file, and I can show you that it exists. When you go to my timer event, bin debug, there we go, a nice and sparkly new DLL file. So in Labview, we're going to have an empty project with nothing inside, and we're going to have a .NET bit which lives in connectivity. First, we're going to have a constructor node, and that will create an object of the class that we've made before. So in this case, which one is it? Well, my timer event DLL. Right, so the constructor is my timer, and we're going to make a close reference as well, which will later close the object that we've made, just to keep things clean and to prevent memory leaks and weird bugs and everything. Right, so we're going to have a property first, right? And the property is interval milliseconds. So it accesses the get and the set. In this case, first I want to access the set. So I say change to right. And then I say, okay, you can go there. All right, create a constant with 5, for instance. And then we're going to create a, let's make this there actually. Clean wire, there we go. And then this one's going to be a read. Read, create a indicator, and we're going to then pass this thing on to there and see what happens if you run this. And there we go, 5. So we just changed something in our DLL, and then, or in the object that was created with our DLL, and then we read from it. So now we're going to add a invoke node. Invoke nodes are used to access functions in the DLL. Right? So in this case, there are a few methods that are made automatically by C# equals get hashcode, get type, and toString. Just because I forget about these because you don't really need them. So first we're going to null num count, which is not necessary because normally it's also already set to 0, but in future programs it's handy because if you want to use a timer multiple times, you want to be able to null the counts. We're going to increase by 1, and then we're going to read the value. I'm going to return this. Right. Now, right. Remove this, and this is going to be there, and this will have get num counts, create an indicator, get num counts. Well, was 0 in the plus 1 should be 1, and there you have it.